Welcome back, fellas. It's time to wrap up this trio of videos. This video will be a mech analysis on the Raider Gundam from Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. As stated in my previous two videos, the antagonist Gundam team, from Seed consisting of the Raider and its two siblings, the Calamity and Forbidden Gundams, were just next level as antagonist Gundams, that there wasn't a wrong answer with which one you liked more than the other two. So let's move on to the operational history of the Raider Gundam. The GATX 370 Raider is a second-generation prototype mobile suit produced under the umbrella of the G Project, the Earth Alliance's mobile suit development program, which was implemented after the then main weapon of the Alliance. The mobile armor platform, Mobius and Mobius Zero, were deemed hilariously insufficient to engage the humanoid mobile weapons of Zaft, specifically the Jin. The Alliance was so clearly disadvantaged that it took at least 5 mobile armors to down one Jin, where even that estimation was heavily optimistic of the mobile armor's anti-mobile suit capabilities. It's almost double that number of mobile armors to deal with a single Jin. So, while the first generation of G Project mobile suits were undergoing testing at the neutral colony of Heliopolis under the control of the Orb Union, 4 of them were snagged as souvenirs by Zaft forces visiting Heliopolis. I know I said this already, but just how compromised is the Alliance that such classified intel could be leaked? You would think this project would have been guarded with their lives, since it was essentially their last hope to halt Zaft's momentum in the war. And the loss of these machines with their vital and hard-earned technologies did nothing but escalate the level of destruction when they each started fighting, resetting the bar since the coordinators now had all of the advantageous technologies that would have given the Alliance the definitive edge, had the project been allowed to carry on without Zaft interference. Anyway, while the loss of 4 of the 5 machines was without a doubt a kick to the crotch for the Alliance made significant progress in refining the G Project technologies either way. This resulted in the second-generation G Project mobile suits like the Raider Gundam and its siblings being commissioned to participate in the war before the conflict came to an end. Now then, I just want to remind everyone that the operational history of the Raider Gundam would be no different from its two siblings from my previous two videos, since the trio always launched together. So, the first debut of the Raider Gundam would be when the Alliance urgently needed a mass driver to restore its supply lines to their bases on the Moon and in space. They attempted negotiations with the Orb Union after they lost their own at Panama, but Orb told them they are neutral and shut down any further discussion on the matter. So, since passive diplomacy failed, it was time for aggressive negotiations. Shout out to anyone who knows this reference, for which the Alliance Gundam trio delivered. The Raider was deployed alongside its siblings, the GATX-131 Calamity and the GATX-252 Forbidden, where they were ordered to reinforce the newly completed mainline grunt mobile suit of the Earth Alliance, the Strike Dagger. The performance difference in the Raider Gundam and its siblings were leaps and bounds ahead of the Orb Union's Astray forces that it was almost like the Astrays were being brutally bullied by them, making the Astrays out to be just cannon fodder with Gundam-styled heads. The power difference was so disparate that the trio's only true competition came from their Zaft cousins, the ZGM-FX-10A Freedom, and its sister unit, the ZGM-FXO-9A Justice. But even with having unlimited energy to power their machines, which I'm not going to lie is still a seriously huge advantage, even if the other side had an extra machine, the Freedom and Justice could only really stymie the trio from causing massive damage to Orb cities and reinforcing the Strike Daggers, which were already progressing in their operation to suppress Orb. Meaning that it went both ways. The trio couldn't assist the Strike Daggers, but the Freedom and Justice couldn't attack the Strike Daggers either. So, the grunts of both sides were left to duke it out. The Strike and Buster were there too, but the Alliance's fleet's presence at Orb's borders had offset any kind of damage the two first-generation machines could do to the Strike Dagger's advance. The Raider would retreat once its energy reserves were dropping to dangerous levels, and after resupplying from the Alliance fleet anchored near Orb's borders. They sortied again and first engaged the Freedom, followed by the Justice once Atherin decided to defect. The fight went on again until this time the Raider's pilot, Crotho Bor, reached his time limit. As with the previous two videos, this will be included in the tech specs. But anyway, the sudden drop in condition forced Crotho to retreat to the safety of the Alliance fleet, where hostilities were halted for the second time. The third time they sortied at Orb would be the final time in this operation, where they engaged the Freedom and Justice until Orb set its mass driver to self-destruct to keep it out of Alliance hands. But the Alliance was still in need of a mass driver to re-establish their supply lines to space, and left with no other alternative, decided to attack the Zaft-controlled Victoria base and seize its mass driver facilities, where, along with other forces, the Raider and its siblings would be transferred to the lunar base and assigned to the second Archangel-class mobile assault ship, the Dominion, as part of its mobile suit contingent. The Raider would then sortie accompanied by the Calamity and Forbidden Gundams when they were ordered to pursue the rogue Archangel and the Kusanagi. They engaged the Freedom and Justice Gundams, who had some support from the Buster, Strike, and some Astrays to mainly deal with the Strike Daggers that were also part of the Dominion's forces. The fight ends where only the Alliance gains an advantage because of retrieving Flay Ulster and the N-Jammer Canceller data she carried, which was crucial for the next and most significant sortie of the Raider Gundam, where the Raider, along with its siblings, took point to intercept Zaft defense forces stationed at the Boaz Space Fortress before the base was nuked by Mobius units with nuclear missiles, thanks to the retrieved data from its previous sortie. The next sortie of the Raider Gundam would be when the Earth Alliance moved to attack the plant Homeland itself with nukes, but were stopped by the intervention of the three ships alliance composed of the Archangel, the Kusanagi, and the Eternal. The final sortie of the Raider would be when it was mobilized to protect the nuclear strike force en route to attacking the plants after the unveiling of the Genesis WMD, where it was destroyed by the duel using the Buster Gundam's Hyper Impulse long-range sniper rifle. Damn, Izak ain't fooling around. He took down two of the three machines. So now, this brings an end to the operational history of the Raider Gundam. Now, onto the tech specs. The Raider Gundam is designed using the X300 series frame. During the G project, there were numerous ideas being explored with regards to certain roles and different structural setups that could accommodate those requirements. Three general frame setups were devised: the X100 series frame, the X200 series frame, and the X300 series frame. I already covered the X100 frame and X200 frame in my previous two videos. Feel free to check them out if you haven't already. So, on with the X300 series frame. This frame type is drastically different from the other two series, as it incorporates a transformation mechanism allowing the mobile suit to shift from its humanoid form to some other role-specific form under the generalized term of a mobile armor. I think that this was more for a sense of compromise for the older Alliance commanders that didn't want to completely phase out mobile armors, which were the main forces before the threat of mobile suits became more apparent. The reason I'm saying that is because the mobile suit's humanoid design actually gave them a good amount of versatility regardless of the environment. Even though this was only really seen with the G project machines first, where the strike beat down more environment and terrain specialized machines like the Legao and the Zono. This was due to the advanced frame technology used in the G project machines, which supported that level of versatility that became the basis for all future machines. Because no doubt the frame data from the stolen Gundams was applied to future Zaft machines as well. Since even machines like the Zaku, which had performance on par with the first generation G project machines, could function quite well in environments they weren't necessarily built for. But I'm getting off topic here. The main draw of the X300 series frame was that this specialized mobile armor mode allows the machine to have an advantage in the environment or combat role the mobile armor mode was designed to function in, to supplement the multi-environment versatility of the humanoid form. While I won't get into much detail on them here since that's a topic for future videos, a good example of this is seen in the three antagonist Gundams from Gundam Seed Destiny, the Chaos, Gaia, and Abyss. Where their mobile armor modes afforded them a significant advantage in the environment, their mobile armor modes were designed to work in. While these are not Alliance-built machines, you could bet that the X300 series frame data from the stolen Aegis Gundam was most likely used in some part of their early development. Since Zaft never really fielded transformable machines prior to obtaining the Aegis, the Goon and Zono's more streamlined forms don't really count as a mobile armor mode. It could be considered a cruising mode since there wasn't any drastic change to their frames. But the distinction between a mobile armor mode and a cruising mode is a bit of a gray area here. In any case, the X300 frame had a greater degree of frame variation when compared to the X100 and X200 frames, since the mobile armor mode could be spec'd for different environmental conditions or combat roles. For example, the Aegis Gundam, the first machine to utilize the X300 frame in combat, had a more space combat mobile armor functionality and a more complex transformation mechanism. While the Raider's mobile armor mode was greatly simplified to ease the stress on the frame during transformation and cut down time when shifting between modes, the Raider's mobile armor mode was configured for atmospheric flight as a high-speed hit-and-run specialist, taking advantage of its mobility and its powerful thruster network. Where its two large wings, which are the main aerodynamic control surfaces of the Raider's mobile armor mode, boost the Raider's turning capabilities and acceleration speed on Earth and in space. To show how powerful the Raider Gundam's propulsion system was, is how it was easily able to carry around its sibling, the Calamity Gundam, on its back, while still being to keep up with the Forbidden in its high-speed assault mode. And we all know the Calamity is a big boy with some heft to it. The Raider's mobile armor mode is a testament to simple is better than complex in some cases. I'm speaking in reference to the Aegis's mobile armor mode. This simplicity also came with accommodating better anti-mobile suit capabilities when compared to the Aegis's mobile armor mode, as well as making it a bit easier to perform maintenance on, at least when compared to other machines that use the X300 frame like the Aegis. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure all machines that have a transformation mechanism built into their frames are quite taxing on their maintenance crews when compared to straightforward conventional frames. But I'm sure a simpler transformation mechanism is easier to work on than a complex one. But that's all on the Raider's X300 frame. Now onto its pilot. The Raider and its siblings are piloted by enhanced humans called boosted men, individuals enhanced with drugs and specific training and education to be nothing more than equipment classified as biological CPUs. These enhanced individuals, later called extendeds, have processing capabilities and reflexes similar to top-tier coordinator specimens, allowing them to bring out the full potential of their Gundams as a means of controlling these enhanced humans. A certain drug is administered to afford them a stable quality of life due to their drastically altered physiology. But if they are insubordinate, the drug could be withheld, causing severe withdrawal symptoms. Now, like its siblings, the Raider employs the Transphase Armor System, a new version of the Phase Shift Armor. Transphase Armor is a two-layer armor system with the Phase Shift Armor placed behind normal armor. The inner Phase Shift Armor activates only when the normal armor is breached, significantly reducing power consumption, and allows the equipped mobile suit to have a longer operational time, as well as reserve more power for its weapons. Additionally, mobile suits equipped with transphase armor do not change color when its armor is activated, unlike the phase shift armor. But the transphase armor is interesting for a different reason. In order to fix the high energy consumption problem with the phase shift armor, the Alliance came up with the transphase armor's double layer armor setup, while Zaft improved the phase shift armor to the more energy efficient variable phase shift armor. Both armor systems were derived from the same piece of technology, but two improved armor derivatives were made where both new armor systems serve their function of improved protection at lower energy cost. It goes to show how different lines of thinking could bring about two distinct and effective solutions to the same problem. But if I had to pick which one was better from a personal perspective, I would say the trans-phase armor, especially if the outer armor layer could have anti-beam coating on it. It wouldn't be an issue to apply anti-beam coatings to the outer armor, since only the inner armor is the phase shift armor, giving better overall defensive value since more machines were now mainly being equipped with beam weapons. But anyway, on with the Raider's tech specs. Interestingly, the Raider Gundam we see in the main series is not the original Raider Gundam. It's a customization of an earlier machine called the Raider Full Spec, which was made to be used by a biological CPU. But while the full spec was being evaluated, the escalation in the war caused its variant, the GATX-370, to be pressed into service before its base machine. And while it was a customized unit, the Raider inherited its base unit's design and combat concepts, where its mobile armor mode specialized in high-speed hit-and-run tactics, and its mobile suit mode excels in short to medium range combat, and has high destructive power in close combat with a decent complement of energy and shell-firing weapons, such as the Ahura Mazda model, short-range plasma cannon. This weapon is attached to a sub-arm assembly installed on the Raider's side skirt armor, and consists of a pair of rapid-firing, short-range plasma cannons that are mounted in the middle portions of the claws that unfold from the bottom of the Raider when in mobile armor mode. They can be fired at point-blank range against enemy unit caught in the claws. Their output and barrels can also be adjusted to generate beam saber blades. Then we have the M2-M3 Type 76mm auto cannon. There are two of these auto cannons installed in the shoulders. They fire physical projectiles and have excellent rapid-fire capabilities. They are used for dogfights, taking advantage of Raider's high mobility in its mobile armor mode, but are unusable in mobile suit mode. Next, we've got the M417 Type 80mm autocannon. This weapon is built into the nose unit of the mobile armor mode and fires physical projectiles with excellent rapid-fire capabilities. It is used for dogfights, taking advantage of Raider's high mobility in mobile armor mode. But unfortunately, like the previous weapon, this weapon is also inaccessible in mobile suit mode. Finally, we've got the Zorn series 100mm energy cannon, one of the customized additions added to the Raider that wasn't found on its base machine. This is a medium-range beam cannon mounted in the Raider's mouth. Despite its relatively short range, it is incredibly powerful and can destroy enemy mobile suits when fired directly at short distances. Fortunately, this weapon is usable in both modes. Now we've got its two optional armaments. First up is the spherical breaker weapon system, codenamed Mjolnir. This unique close combat weapon consists of a spherical mace connected to a handheld grip unit via a retractable macromolecular polymer wire. The thruster's equipped spherical mace is made of extremely dense, repulsive materials. Thus, its strikes are able to cause internal damage to enemies with phase shift armor. But it's not just the mace itself that's unique. The weapon has an anti-beam coating applied to the wire, so the spherical breaker can be swung rapidly to create a makeshift shield against both beam and projectile barrage. But strangely enough, the mace itself is not anti-beam coated, leaving it susceptible to being cut in half by a beam saber. It is stored under the torso in mobile armor mode. Next, we have the dual 52mm hyper-velocity shield cannon. This is a weapon that is integrated with its shield. The shield has a small design that makes it easy to handle during close combat, while the pair of built-in 52mm cannons have an excellent rate of fire and are useful in restricting targets. The weapon is mounted on the left shoulder when in mobile armor mode and on the right forearm when in mobile suit mode, and can be fired in both modes. The cannons have two firing modes, semi-auto and full auto. That brings an end to the tech specs. In summary, like its siblings in my previous videos, the Raider Gundam just emits last boss aura, unlike its highly specialized sibling, the Calamity Gundam, and its highly versatile sibling, the Forbidden Gundam. The Raider is a bit of a mix of both, where it has its mobile armor mode, giving it a specialized combat role and advantage in aerial combat, and its mobile suit mode giving it the high adaptability of a humanoid form in different environments, as seen with the first generation G weapons. But while I say it's a mix of elements from both its other siblings, its dual modes are not as potent by themselves when in comparison. The Raider's true strength comes from its ability to switch between these modes on the fly to take advantage of the characteristics both configurations offer to deal with whatever the combat situation it finds itself in requires. Maybe a better word would be adaptable. Yes, I think that makes more sense. The Calamity is specialized. The Forbidden is versatile and the Raider is adaptable. I know that versatile and adaptable are synonyms, but I think you guys get what I'm trying to say with the nuances of the context with these Gundams in mind. In the combat, you could say that the Raider is the interference specialist, disrupting the enemy units from focusing on the Calamity or Forbidden, to give them some breathing room using its high-speed mobile armor mode to disrupt enemy coordination, and using its mobile suit mode to intercept any machines of substantial threat levels from attacking its otherwise combat-engaged siblings depending on what the situation demands. At least, ideally, that's how it should work, even though their pilots initially weren't so keen on this approach. But even so, the Freedom and Justice Gundam duo aside, the Raider, like the rest of the second-generation Alliance Gundams, had excellent solo capabilities thanks to their refined second-generation frames regardless of the series, their energy-efficient transphase armor, and their plethora of weapon options. But now onto the Raider's main disadvantage. It's not so much of a disadvantage as more of a bit of an inconvenience. And that's the fact that some of its armaments are unavailable for use in mobile suit mode. This is something not just specific to the Raider Gundam, but to most machines that use a transformable frame, where depending on the mode, some weapons would be unavailable. As stated in the tech specs, two of its autocannon weapons are unusable in mobile suit mode, while its hammer is unusable in mobile armor mode. But its pilot still made full use of the Raider Gundam against two of the most formidable Gundam duos in the Gundam multiverse. So it's not such a huge weakness for it, as I stated earlier, but more of an inconvenience. There's also the fact that its weapon options lean a bit more on the physical side, with only the Zorn and Ahura Mazda being its only beam weapons, which are both short-range weapons. I feel as though the Raider got the shaft end of the development budget, since it was left without any kind of large-caliber beam weapon as a sort of finisher. The Calamity had the Scylla, and the Forbidden had the Resvelger. And what does the poor Raider have instead? The Zorn. Damn. To be honest, the Raider doesn't really have any sort of glaring flaws. Probably the only other thing I would question would be the spherical breaker. I don't know, I get the feeling this thing is out of place when taking the Raider's skill set and characteristics into account. Don't you guys think this thing would increase the drag of the machine in mobile armor mode, given its less than aerodynamic design? I like the fact that the tether wire's anti-beam treated, and it has thrusters to alter its direction and increase its acceleration, putting more force behind each hit. But the fact that the mace itself doesn't have any anti-beam treatment is really stupid. Who the hell designed the weapon like this? But once again, its shape is the problem. Maybe if it were something like a lance that could be fired on the same tether wire system and had accelerating thrusters, it wouldn't be so bad. They could even call it Gungnir. But there's already a system called Gungnir in Seed. I think it was a wide area EMP system. But yeah, overall, this is an excellent machine outside of its slight lack of powerful long range beam weapons. But not too shabby at all. Now then, like the Calamity and the Forbidden, the Raider also has a conceptually warped variant called the Gelb Raider Gundam, where its designer just thought doubling its weapons and thrusters would make it more powerful. I would admit that a bit more enhanced weapon options would help, but I still don't like this thing. These variants of the Seed antagonist Gundam trio had no finesse, just smooth brained reasoning behind their development. There's one more variant of note, and that's the Boost Raider Gundam, which, according to its details, was the Alliance's attempt to compete with the ZGMFX series of Gundams produced by Zaft, like the Freedom and Justice Gundams. Their approach was to integrate aspects of the Calamity, Forbidden, and Raider into a single machine. Since the trio had success in combating those Gundams even with their energy limitations, it went without saying that they used the Raider as the base and latched key systems and weapons from the Calamity and Forbidden onto it. But all that did was make it harder for naturals to pilot it, while ironically only coordinators could properly use it. But this line of thinking was deeply flawed. All three machines were excellent on their own, and it was because they used group tactics that they were successful against the Freedom and Justice. So, since this is the last video on this awesome Gundam trio, I should just put it out there that it was a shame that the Alliance didn't refine these three machines for the events in Destiny. How cool would it have been to see improved models of these machines in Destiny? But it was strange. The Alliance was just really stupid and lame as antagonists in Destiny. Oh, look, there's a city fraternizing with Zaft. Let's burn it with the Destroy, where the only new Gundam machine they used was the Destroy Gundam. They were even using old model Gundams from the First War to fight advanced Gundams like the Legend in Destiny. God damn, the Alliance sucks. I'll end the video here. Till next time, bye.